So the February data is in, and if the Calgary real estate market was a roller coaster, it looks like we're hitting that sweet spot where things start to level off. Still thrilling, but not quite at warp speed anymore. For the second month in a row, inventory continued to build, and the biggest surge was actually affordable properties under 500,000, with condos and townhomes leading the charge. And for me, this is not a surprise because they're making up most of the new inventory that's being brought to the market, pre-construction condos that have recently closed. This also tends to be starter homes for people buying their first property. So what's really going down? Well, sales have slowed about 19% overall from last year, but this is still well above historic norms for the city of Calgary. So there's no need to panic. New listings were high for February, which kept the sales to new listings ratio around 60%. Still strong, but not quite that red hot frenzy that we've seen over the last couple of years. So what does this mean for buyers and investors? Really, more options. With inventory up and months of supply reaching about 2.5 months, buyers and investors now have more room to breathe. No more feeling like you're racing against the clock trying to get that property. Townhomes and apartments are the sweet spot. With inventory rising, these are the prime targets for savvy investors looking for high potential and better deals. But wait, not all properties are made equal. So knowing what to buy and what will easily rent and appeal to the local market when it's time to sell is critical. Prices are also pausing. Prices for condos and townhomes and houses are all up year over year. But in some areas of the city, like the north, they're slightly slipping. Whereas in the east and southwest, those areas are really flexing their muscle and showing the strongest gains overall. So knowing where to buy is also very important for your investment success. The seller's market is fading a bit. So is it time to sell? Well, with more listings hitting the market and the pace of price hikes slowing down, Calgary's once white-hot seller's market has cooled off a bit, and it's heading more into a balanced environment. But Calgary is still one of Canada's hottest real estate markets. I'm still holding on to everything that I own there. And in the last couple of months, I've even added 2 additional properties in Calgary because I believe prices are going to continue to climb in the city over the next couple of years. But if you're worried about all the global uncertainty right now, tariffs, trade wars, armed conflict, this might be the perfect time to cash in and lock in those profits, especially as we head into the spring market, which is traditionally Calgary's strongest real estate market. So let's take a look at what the February numbers have to say. So overall, total benchmark prices in the city of Calgary have continued to go up year over year. The strongest gains we've seen have been in the more affordable areas like the Northeast, East, and Southeast. Areas like the downtown city core and the north area, those have been amongst the slowest appreciating, actually declining slightly year over year, mainly because of the typical high cost of those areas. The south has actually been quite a surprise because southwest is one of the most desirable areas of Calgary, but it's actually been one of the best performing areas. So again, the old adage, location, 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 still seems to be holding true. Now, some anecdotal evidence that we've seen in the market in Calgary lately, there have been a lot of bidding wars on properties being brought to market. Units are selling 11, 17 days very, very quickly. So it seems like the spring market is really bringing people back to the market. So it'll be interesting to watch overall how those numbers develop through the spring and summer markets. So for Calgary condos, the sales did increase year over year, but down quite a bit, about 26% from last year, although last year was a record-setting year. The sales numbers are still well above historic averages for February. And we didn't see a huge buildup in inventory yet. It actually came down, which has been quite surprising, to 852 units, but that was actually a record for February as well. The sales to new listings ratio did increase, up about to 56%, a little bit lower than I'd like to see, but again, we'll see how that develops in the spring market. The inventory has increased very considerably, about 90% year over year. It is following that trend into the spring, and we're hitting levels that we haven't seen in 3-4 years. Now, keep in mind, the inventory levels that we saw really over the last 2 years were some of the lowest numbers we have ever seen for inventory. It was ridiculous. There was just nothing available. So it looks like things are returning more to normal. The months of supply, even though inventory did build, actually did come down to 3.1 months. And keep in mind, anywhere between 2 to 4 months is considered a more balanced market. And days on market did dip as well. So on average, condos are selling more quickly than they have over the last couple months. So despite all that extra inventory, the benchmark price held steady at about 334,000. And this is up about 4% year over year. So not explosive gains by any means, but when you compare it to other cities, Vancouver, Toronto, where you're seeing negative returns, I'm happy regardless of what the number is, as long as it's positive. Interestingly, the West District, which is an area of West Calgary, brand new area being developed by Truman Homes, it actually led the charge with over 8% price growth for condos there. So congratulations to my buyers that bought in Modern condos and Plaza condos as well. And there is going to be a new development, the East Tower at Plaza, that's going to be launching in March. So if you're interested in taking advantage of one of the hottest markets in Calgary, definitely reach out and I can provide you the information. So the townhome market overall is looking quite strong still. You're seeing sales increasing into the spring, a little bit below some of the previous years, but still very healthy. New listings actually plateaued. You didn't see the big spike in February like you normally do. And that means that sales to new listings ratio is going up as well, meaning more listings are selling that are being brought to the market. The inventory did build a little bit and you're significantly higher than last year. But again, last year was a record-setting year for inventory and sales. Months of supply dipped down to 2.1. Anything below 2 is a seller's market. So the townhomes are very close to still being in a seller's market. And days on market has continued to go down as well. And the benchmark price, it hit about 447,000. This is up about 3% year over year, still a little bit below last year's peak, but we'll have to see what happens as we head into the spring market. It's very common for this sort of situation to happen. And interestingly, it was the East District that led the pack for townhomes. Prices had risen modestly across the city, but the East District surged about 12% year over year, making it Calgary's hottest spot for townhome appreciation. I still have townhomes in the East as well, so if you're interested in picking one of those up, definitely let me know. So the detached market is cooling a little bit, but just a little bit. Sales dropped about 20% year over year to about 765 units, and new listings did creep up about 6%. This pushed inventory levels up about 61% higher than last year. But again, last year was a record-setting year. All of these numbers, you're still within the norms of what you've seen for the last couple of years. The thing to watch is the months of supply. You have seen that creep up, and you're at one of the highest months of supply over the last really 4 or 5 years. But still, at 2.2, this is still nearly a seller's market. So detached market in Calgary is still very, very strong, especially any units around the 700,000 mark or less. Those have been very popular as people try to get into the housing market. And days on market has continued to go down too. Expect it'll probably continue throughout March and April as well as we head into that spring market. And for pricing, the benchmark price hit about $71,000. This is up 5% year over year, but actually just below the highs that we had seen earlier last year. All of the trends say that prices will continue to rise into the spring, so we'll have to see what happens. It was actually the city center, in this case, where prices rose the most of all of the districts, growing at about an 8% rate annually. So there you have it. That is what the real estate market is telling you in February of 2025. So whether you're buying, selling, or just watching what's going on, there is opportunity in every market if you know where to look. If you need to strategize, I'm always available. Let's talk. Book a call with me today.